Welcome to another Life Enhancers video talk. My name is Anthony Grant, and for the last 20 years I have been practicing energy psychology at Life Enhancers. Today I'm going to talk about drink and drugs. Alcohol, for most, is a pleasurable pastime, but it can get out of hand. Drugs are addictive, so we've been told, and it's very difficult to stop taking them. But is it? The reason we have been taught that drugs are addictive is because there was a study conducted in the 1970s on a single rat in a cage where two tubes of drink were available. One was water and the other was water laced with morphine. The rat had nothing to do, no friends to play with, no toys, no girlfriend. He was bored and always went for the morphine drink. Conclusion: heroin is addictive. A few years later, in the 1970s, an experiment called Rat Park was conducted by a Canadian psychologist, Bruce K. Alexander, and his colleagues at the Simon Fraser University in Canada to prove that drugs are not addictive. Alexander built Rat Park, a large cage housing a colony of rats. It was 200 times the floor area of a standard laboratory cage. There were 16 to 20 rats of both sexes in residence, food, balls and wheels for play, and enough space for mating. The happy rats were given the same tubes of drink, one water and the other laced with heroin. All the rats tried the heroin, but they all drank the water. Then he added sugar to a weaker heroin-laced water tube, and the rats preferred it to the water. They removed the heroin, but the rats still went for the sugar. Perhaps the sugar is addictive. Drug use generally starts because the person is young and inquisitive, or someone wants to relax and remove the negative thoughts they can't get out of their head. I have had many people come to me who have been on all types of drugs, prescribed and illegal. They all had physical pains to one degree or another, and most had terrible thoughts of their past lives. Loss of friends, or being raped or abused, is nearly always at the top of the list. Alcohol use tends to start as a way to give themselves courage. Meeting new people seems so much easier when you can relax with a drink. When things go wrong, the drink can relax you for a while, but too much and it becomes depressive. That's where they start to drink every day. In conventional therapies, such as CBT, dealing with a depressive alcoholic or drug user, the alcohol-drug problem must be dealt with first because of the greater problem of removing the depression. To most people, that seems the logical approach. Deal with the easiest first. But if you analyse the situation, it is the emotional depressed state of the person which was the cause of the take-up of the drug alcohol problem in the first place. Surely, if you could remove the emotional problem, the alcohol or drug problem would no longer be there. Over the last 20 years, I've had a few alcoholics and drug users come to me. I can tell you many stories, but here I'll just tell you two. One alcoholic chap I helped with was Jim, not his real name. He, like most men, can have a happy home life and a bad work life, or a bad home life and a good work life. Most men will get through. But if both their home life and work life are bad, then they resort to help, usually by way of the bottle. Jim was struggling at work, worried that he was not good enough anymore, and then his wife wanted a new life. She ran off with someone else and left Jim all alone. He came to me for a session of road therapy in a bad way. He was sober, because I insist on it, but he was suffering. We removed all his negative stuff about his fear, worry, and his work colleagues, finishing with the distraught problem he had about his wife leaving him. It turned out he was also feeling very sorry for himself, having to do all his own cooking and cleaning. We made him feel good about looking after himself, renewed his self-esteem, took away his fear, his doubt, his worry, and off he went. On his 2-week call, he told me he had found a new girlfriend, and things were great at work. Now he only has the occasional glass of wine with a meal. Now look, there's a note here. When you remove the alcoholism by removing the negative emotions, you can enjoy a glass of your favourite drink in the same way as most balanced people do. Our next story is about Trudy, who was a heroin addict and had been for many years. She, like so many women, had been abused by her male family members when she was young. She left home at 16 only to be drawn into being a sex worker. Heroin helped her live each day, for without it, her horrendous past thoughts would be more than she could stand. Twice she had tried to commit suicide. During her own session, we removed all the trauma and terrible feelings she had with each of her early abusers. Then we removed the horrendous thoughts and feelings she had about her day-to-day life. It took about 4 hours to remove all the emotional scars, and she left me as a very happy lady. On her 2-week call, she told me she hadn't had any drugs and had started evening classes because she wanted to become a teacher. In those stories, it sounds simple to remove the negative emotions and traumas. And yes, by using Roan therapy, it is. When we remove those terrible thoughts and emotions of guilt, anger, fear, worry, etc., we are removing the negative emotions and thoughts which cause pain, causes insecurity, lack of self-esteem, the guilt, the fear, the doubt, etc. When we remove all that stuff, there really is nothing left for the drugs or alcohol to subdue or remove. Withdrawal symptoms, which are terrible under normal circumstances, usually only last a few days, with minor headaches or stomach upset. Another way to look at heroin not being addictive: when you are in hospital with severe pain, you are given morphine. Some people are on it for a week or so, some even more. But there is no sign of addiction when they stop the morphine and leave the hospital. There are many people who suffer with unexplained pain that is difficult to remove. When that is the case, doctors prescribe an opioid drug. They are treating the pain, not the cause of the pain. Generally, the problem is that the pains are usually caused by negative emotions that have gone off to manifest themselves in the body as pain. This is not generally known by your doctor, and no research into it has been conducted. On oversubscribing, opioid abuse is becoming the biggest drug epidemic the developed world has ever seen. This is due to the salesmanship of the drug companies. Opioids are heroin. The clue is in the name. And these drugs subdue the negative emotions. As the negative emotions are subdued, the body no longer feels the pain, but when the course of opioids stops, the negative emotions return and immediately manifest themselves again in the body, and the aches and pains return. A new course of opioids then removes the negatives, and again the pain goes. This would then be called addiction, but it's not. People just want to rid themselves of the terrible negative emotions they have, but they can't without their drugs. So, drugs and drink are not addictive in the way most people think. They may be habitual, but then habits are very easy to remove. You just have to change the way you live so the habit is lost. If you drink or use drugs to subdue your negative thoughts, come and see me at Life Enhancers. We'll fix you in a day. We do what it says on the name, enhance your life. Look at lifeenhancers.co.uk for some other remarkable things we do. That ends this week's talk. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It's free, and then you'll easily find my next video talk. And please share these talks. If you don't have a problem with anything in these talks, somebody you know or somebody they know may have the problem, so it would help. I'll try and make a new one every week. Every video talk that I give will help you to become and stay healthy. If you don't, one day you will realize, even with all your accumulated wealth and possessions, without your health you have nothing.